Hello everyone. Welcome to yet another edition of Martech Brain, a Netcore initiative. My guest today is Mudit Seth. Mudit is co-founder and CMO at CarTalk. Previously, he was co-founder of Silverpush, and then he spent quite some time at Tyro heading business strategy. And the topic that Mudit has chosen for our discussion today is how to scale up a business using content. It's a fascinating topic, and we'll dig deeper into that. And when Mudit says business, he actually means two types of businesses, and we'll cover both from the brand side and from the publisher side. So welcome to Martech Brain, Mudit.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thanks for the introduction.
And so what exactly do you mean by scaling up a business using content?
Sure. So there has been a lot of times in my previous, in my internet or digital years that I have seen that people struggle scaling up businesses due to various aspects. The only solution that we see that they have recently or they keep implementing is spending more and more money. That's how all e-commerce is, or marketplaces, or large companies have grown. But what we have realized that people who truly understand digital should also understand the power of content. And we at CarTalk have seen that content can truly replace your dependence on paid media up to 50%. Now that's a huge thing, and it is not just talks that it is not just talks or conversation, but we have actually implemented it in CarTalk. So CarTalk being third largest automobile website in India, we have been able to reach up to 45 million users within 2 years. Now that's a huge jump. And as a publisher, we don't spend money to acquire users. Our objective is to gain maximum revenue through advertising or through direct sales or sponsorships. Now, to get that, we need to have organic users. We need to have users coming in from various sources. So what we have realized is scaling up content in a smarter way, in an intelligent way, can actually help you grow business up to 2x, 3x, or even 10x if you have a complete focus on that. On the brand side, we have also seen that people who have completely focused on content as a different channel rather than just one-off channels, or rather than just one or two person handling that piece. So content on brands has also helped them scale businesses, get more loyal customers, and get more repeated customers month on month. So today, sorry, yeah.
Give one example of a company in India, of a brand which has been doing this well, so people get an idea of what it means. Publishers, I think a lot of people are familiar with. On
Yeah.
the brand side, give an example.
So on the brand side, one of our clients, Maruti India, they are a classic example. So they clearly understand the power of content. They understand why and how and what type of content needs to be implemented. Of course, we help them in strategizing in a lot of ways, but it has to come from within, right? The brand has to understand that content is important for them. It brings them loyalty, and that is the reason they are like Maruti is Maruti in automobile. They own 55% market share. Even at that stage, they understand why content is important. They have actually created an entire content hub on their site, which is not just a blog. So if you go to that site, you'll see there is Nexa Hub, there is Arena Hub, there is a True Value Hub. Each hub contains multiple types of topics or content based on different personas now. Earlier, it was just simple content, vanilla content given to all users, but now it has been differentiated based on brand, based on the checklist that they have, and the based of target audience that they have.
Okay. So it's very interesting. So what you're basically saying is that typically we have seen that a lot of B2B SaaS companies, of course, use content to attract traffic, for inbound marketing.
Correct.
What you're saying is two things, that there is a smarter way even for publishers to use content, and we'll dig into that.
Sure.
And also second part of that is basically brands can now think of creating content hubs on their site to get organic content. And both of these are important, because otherwise the only other way you can get traffic really is through paid advertising on Google and Facebook. And if you can bypass that, you're building a more loyal audience, if I were to summarize what
Absolutely.
So let's dig into this a little bit more. If we now take your own experience in the content side, what are the 2 or 3 key learnings that you've had in building CarTalk to such a powerful position using content? So someone who's watching this, if they say like, this is great, I'd like to build out incoming traffic, organic traffic with content, what are key things that they can learn from you?
Yeah. So most important is to have a strategy in place to have a scaled content. So you should know that what are things that you would be writing, or at least the bullet points that you would be writing in next 3 months. It's not just today. So as publishers, of course, trending news, breaking news is very important, but long-term content, or there is content where new audiences always want to read that. So we at CarTalk, we have understood our audiences. So we know that, let's say 25 to 34 is my majority audience. And then we keep drilling down what are important criterias of content consumption for them on my site and on other sites also. So I should know if the user is, let's say, coming from a travel site to my site, what he might be interested to read next. Or if that user is coming from an e-commerce site to my site, then what? Or if, let's say, if he's coming directly, then what should be the first thing so that he remain on my site and keep reading more news. That's my objective, to generate more page views. So content at scale is super important for us. Then optimizing that content delivery based on users is very, very important. So who should see what apart from breaking news? Let's say if Mudit comes to site, usko kya dikhna chahiye? If Rajesh comes to the site, usko kya dikhna chahiye? It can be based on 50 different parameters, but yeah, that optimization or personalization is super important. And third, another very important topic is the biggest source of your traffic should gradually move towards organic. So if earlier, let's say Facebook or Google was biggest source of your traffic, what type of content you should make that Facebook or Google's organic algorithms pushes that. You don't have to, spend more money to get traffic. There should be triggers that you should send to Facebook that this news is important. It should be gone viral. It should be going viral to all the users. So these are 3 important strategies that we keep in mind while creating content for our users.
And for actually creating the content, you have a team. It's not algorithmic. It's basically humans creating, or is a combination of both?
So you'll be surprised. It's a very, very interesting process that we have built. So there is a different team which does the headings of articles. There is a different team who writes the body of the article. Of course, there is a review team, but there are a lot of content which is pretty standard. For example, if someone wants to read more about, let's say, a new launched car, now that new launched car will have 10 or 15 parameters that is fixed across all cars. See, everyone will have, let's say, power steering. Everyone will have some different design. So the keywords remain same. Engine hai, just the variable changes. Sunroof hai, variable changes. So those type of content we have built in-house, which can be automatically written and then proofread by an editorial team, and then it is published.
Okay. So this is pretty interesting. And what you're basically saying is that on the first part is that there's a lot of people coming in, and you have a constant flow of new people coming in.
Yes.
And for that, there is a content factory.
Yeah.
A combining of some amount of machine generated content with human supervision.
Yeah.
And you've put that into a longer term strategy. So you're not just anticipating what's happening today, but looking ahead for the next few months for what the person is coming. Then you're combining that with some amount of personalization. So after I've probably read the first story, what is the next things that I need to read?
Correct.
And then the key is, how do you, so a person comes, say maybe through a Google search or somewhere else onto your site, how do you ensure that the person will come back again? So getting a person in the first time,
Yeah.
okay, is fine. How do you ensure that car talk becomes really a habit and a top of the mind recall? Because that's really the power of then scaling up the business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that is where a lot of tools that we have implemented actually helps us in understanding the consumption of the content by users. So if Mudit comes to the site, so and I know that, let's say he's reading an SUV article. So it's not just an SUV, but there are 100 more tags uh, along with that particular article. So what, let's say, is it a current format article or it's an old article? Or let's say if it's just an SUV, what brand it is, how old is that car, and is it also linked to other tags, for example, modifications, car maintenance, car life, the time value of that car? So there are variable factors that we have tagged along with the keywords, which let's say is an SUV. So my system already knows that if Mudit is reading about SUV and let's say an SUV called Ford Endeavor, so what are other three things that he would love to read? And there is already a database behind which keeps running in real time that these are the type of users Mudit is, what other users have read. It's like similarly what you see in Amazon, the recommendation part. So the next article will be, let's say, related to an adventure car, or it can be related to a road trip, or it can be related to some hidden features of that SUV that Mudit has read.
So in a way, in sort of uh, customer transactions, we talk about next best action.
Yes,
Here you are saying it's the next best article which
exactly.
your system is generating and putting out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now, uh, in this, what about the use of video, etc.? So, what other formats? So, mainly you're looking at textual content, or there's also now video content, short form video, long form video. What are the things that what are the trends you're seeing on the content side in consumption?
So definitely, like it's an open book now that video definitely is the key factor. Uh, it might surpass text in some years, but on our side, it's not just text, but there is a lot of infographics that we make. So that also works for us. On the video part, we do shoot videos only for the new launches that happens, and it's only handful of launches that happen. So that is one type of video content we do in a long format. But definitely in a shorter format, we get a lot of participation from our users, where they share the videos that they have shoot about their cars or their experiences, their road trips. So that becomes an important part in our content strategy also. So of course, 25% of our entire content is UGC currently, because users love to see what other users have done. Users doesn't want to see what brands have done or what a marketplace have done. And UGC, so I keep saying this to brands also, that UGC is the best, UGC content hub is the best advocacy program anybody can do. So that is also we implemented on our site, where we get a lot of users sharing a lot of pictures, also a lot of video galleries, a lot of videos in short formats. So it is, so we clearly know that it is not a professional shoot, but even then those videos get higher engagement and higher CTRs, higher views also, as compared to a branded video.
So, Mudit, in this, one of the key things also becomes, how do you get people in for the first time? And I'm presuming that your content gets ranked quite highly on Google and other sources where content where people
Yeah,
tend to search for it. How do you manage that? Because otherwise there's still a cost of getting the user in for the first time. And I think
absolutely.
if you can get that organically through sort of SEO rather than SEM,
Yeah.
that can make a big difference also, right?
Definitely, definitely. So, yes, there is an in-house SEO team. That is one. Second, we have created uh, a channel for WhatsApp for us where we deliver latest news or interesting news or breaking news to them to all our groups on WhatsApp. We obviously do send notifications to users who have opted in for us. For the first time, we work on we clearly push some of our content which we feel can go viral, and it is not a typical car content, but it can be as open as Rajnikant using these cars in India. So these kind of a
Hmm.
topics which include, let's say, a third industry, a second industry that can be cricket or can be religion also, it can be Bollywood also. So we combine that with auto and then we push it to other channels. Of course, tagging, using hashtags and all that's part of the strategy, but it helps us get a lot of new users.
So when you say other channels, what do you mean? So this would be Facebook and
Facebook, so Google News is important.
Google News.
Yes. So we get a lot of traffic on our site via Google News, and Google News generally push things based on what is breaking, what is trending right now. It is also personalized, but in auto, since everything can't be plain, car related content, so it has to be multiple industry combined together as a news.
Yeah, very
So
innovative.
that helps us get users on the first place as new users.
Okay. Do you all use email newsletters in your marketing efforts, basically? So, are there push methods to really send out content to people? And then, like you said, WhatsApp. WhatsApp is one push mechanism.
Yeah.
Is email part of the plan, and therefore, because to get people back again onto the site?
So email we haven't implemented. Maybe you can change. We plan to implement it later, but as of now we haven't implemented any signups or any emails on our site. Objective is that we don't want users to sign up just to read news. It doesn't make sense. And users these days are very very smart. They don't want to give any data. They don't want to disclose their avatars to anyone unless there is some meat for them. So as and when we plan to move toward, let's say, a subscription side or towards a transaction or an e-commerce side, we will definitely open up email. But as push, we definitely send WhatsApp and we use notifications
Yeah. Now,
and some part of Facebook as well.
okay. If we move now to the other side for publishers. Okay,
Yeah.
so, sorry, for brands.
So the
We've
brands.
talked a lot about publishers, and I think you've given a lot of good insights into how publishers can build a very good content foundation. So, what are two or three things that brands should do? I mean, what you said earlier is that there has to be a strategy.
Yeah.
You need to understand their users. I'm assuming some of those things are common, but
Yeah.
typically brands don't have in-house teams who can do this. This is not their core competence.
Correct.
How should a brand go about building a content hub on its site?
So before building a content hub, I think brands now should understand that content is important. So I worked with I think almost 500 brands in India, and only handful of brands understand what really content is. For most of them, brands is कि social media का post बना दो, or just write a blog, that's it, or do a PR. But that is not real content. Real content is something which is repetitive, which is there on your own site, and then that is shareable. So building a content hub on your site becomes super important these days because it helps you move towards more and more organic traffic. See, if I own a car or if let's say if I just bought a car from X brand, I will not go to their site for next 3 years because I already own that brand. But for that brand, they want me to come again and again to buy something else. Let's say a service pack or a subscription pack or an accessory, something, right? But I don't have any motivation to go to that site again. So just sending just a calls or an SMS won't work. There has to be something interesting for me to go to their site and read. From there, you can take users to multiple product pages. But there has to be a content hub on their side.
I think this is a very good point, because there are a lot of industries where there is a purchase which happens once in a few years, like say, let's say insurance. You mentioned about cars.
Yeah.
And, insurance industry.
Real estate also.
Real estate.
Yeah.
Now, in insurance, at least there is a renewal element which is there. So you want to get the user back again and again.
Correct.
But what you're saying is that content which basically is relevant to the user can work as a very good magnet for getting the user.
Absolutely.
Now, from a brand's perspective, what is a better strategy? Trying to build an in-house team, trying to partner with someone, combination of both? How does it work? Because this is typically not a competence. I mean,
I agree.
In most brands. So how should they go about it?
All the brands that we have worked till now, it has been a mixture of both. So there has been an agency and there has been, let's say, 1 or 2 or 3 persons from in-house teams. So both coordinate well. So one team creates strategy and other creates help them deliver that thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of very good sort of case studies, if I ask you to say India or abroad, companies, brands which have done this very well, you mentioned Maruti as one. Any others come to mind, India or outside, which brands can sort of follow and replicate?
So I definitely follow, for example, BuzzFeed. I definitely follow New York Times. In India, there is a travel company called Tripoto. I definitely follow them because they have clearly created a lot of content and an ecosystem where now users are participating in generating content for them, sharing memories, sharing trips. So I would say, I think 50 to 60% of Tripoto's content is UGC now. It is that scaled. And people contribute from multiple countries.
So in a way, is UGC, if you think of UGC, is that the sort of ultimate goal that a brand or a publisher should aim for, where your internal costs keep going down, but you have a lot of content being generated and that sort of feeds on itself? Is that an aim? Or because that also comes with its problems about quality?
Absolutely.
And so on. So how do you think about UGC?
So UGC should not be the aim. Advocacy should be the aim.
Okay, explain that.
So all the objective should be that how my existing buyers create noise about my product in that economy. It can be any product, insurance or car or a travel company, anything, even an e-commerce company. See, as a user, we really like to share things. That's why social networks exist, right? And if we really love products, we definitely share them. For example, I love coffee and I keep sharing pictures of them or any good cafe that I found. Same happens with every user. You might like something. It can be a business, it can be a product or a service that you might have liked. And you would at least tell 5 or 10 people. We need to, so that is advocacy. We want the same thing to implement it at a larger scale for every brand. So if someone has bought a car, and if he tells it to, let's say, 5 members or 10 family members, if we just speak to them frankly, openly, they will be happy to tell it to more 100 people. And that is what a brand should capture and then push it to multiple audiences. That's how you'll generate new users at a cheaper cost.
And what are 2 or 3 good metrics that both publishers and brands should look at to know whether their content scaling strategy or scaling the business through content is working or not?
So definitely, as we also do, every content piece should be divided into multiple funnels of users. So are we writing the content for generating awareness? Are we doing it for consideration purpose, or is it for a purchase purpose? And accordingly, there can be a call to action in every article or every content piece that you generate. So for awareness, for example, know more about this car can be a call to action. For consideration, it can be, do you know that this car is better in features as compared to the competition? That's how you generate more consideration. And call now, buy now, apply now, subscribe now can be a clear call to actions on the purchase funnel.
Okay.
That's how you measure it to every business metrics that you want. But challenge is that this is also a big challenge in India, that we have seen people majorly do digital just to generate transactions. They hardly spend or create content just to create awareness or consideration on the digital side. Television, I know a new product launch creates massive awareness, massive reach, but people don't do that on digital side. We have seen people, everyone, new handset launch, buy now. New car launch, buy now. Nobody talks about, know about this car, compare this car, or is it good for you or not? Persona based content. People don't do that. That is also business metrics.
Right. I think that's very helpful. And when you look at the future, Mudit, what are 2 or 3 key trends that you are seeing in the world of content? I mean, a year ago or a couple of years ago, who would have imagined that, with TikTok, 6 and 10 second videos would be so captivating.
Absolutely.
Looking ahead, what are the 2 or 3 key content trends that you are seeing?
So I think biggest trend that we are seeing, it has already started happening, is using AI in content creation and distribution. So there can be a lot of algos, a lot of machine learning, a lot of, let's say, neural networks that can be implemented for creating content and distribution of that content. It will help solve a lot of problem. There will be a lot of manual things that can be removed. It can be error free, and it can be piracy agnostic. Nobody could, actually copy a good content if it is tagged properly, benchmarked properly, or let's say if blockchain is implemented. So yeah, these are the things I think would definitely be helpful.
Great. I think that's been a wonderful overview of the world of content. And I think you've demonstrated through Car Talk, it's how effectively you can actually build a scalable business with the right content strategies. And as we come to the end, we come to our 5 ones. Sort of rapid fire back and forth. So my first question is a technology or a trend that excites you for the future.
As I said, like AI and neural networks definitely is future for content as well as commerce both.
Great. And one tech or trend that has disappointed you?
I would say DMPs have disappointed me. Ideally, it's a good product, should have been scaled and implemented a lot, but due to various reasons, couldn't scale.
Okay.
Only a handful of companies are doing it.
Right. A good book recommendation?
So there's recently a book that I have read called When by Daniel Pink. So this is a book that actually tells you when to do something. So there is everyone and every advice that you see, how to do, what to do, why to do. Nobody talks about when is the right time to do that.
Excellent.
It's a must read.
Okay. And one podcast person or a company that you think we should follow?
So I've been following Apple from long. Everyone aspires for that brand, not just because of the product, but because of the entire ecosystem or experience that it creates. I think it's out of the box and out of the world.
Yep, $2 trillion and counting.
Yeah.
And a personal belief that you follow in your life?
So yeah, this has been taught by my dad that one should never ever follow money. One should always follow a work or any passion that you do, and money always follows through. So that is very, very true. I've never worked for money. It doesn't matter how much money I get from what work or what project. If it's good for me, I will do it.
Great, Mudit. It's been a fantastic conversation with you. I think for any person out there, this is a great intro and insights into the world of how do you use content to really scale your business. Thanks a lot, Mudit.
Thanks, Rajesh. Thanks for having me.
So that was Martech Brain and a Netcore initiative. Do follow us on YouTube and any of the podcast channels. We'll be back next week with a new edition. Thank you very much.